Hello and welcome to the fifth and final installment of the Earth Allies series. It's finally warm enough for me to sit outside for this, which I'm really excited about. All right, so in our first Earth Allies chat, I laid the foundation on definition of terms and things of that nature. In the second one, I reflected on how I think we got here from a philosophical standpoint, as well as what depth psychology and Jungian psychology actually has to say about this type of work. More like a preliminary explanation. In the third video, I gave you a little bit of a homework assignment to become in relationship with your first Earth ally, and I'm excited to hear about how that's going for all of you. In the fourth one, I explained the actual Earth Allies process that is done once a month. On the full moon or not, it's up to you, but when I start doing Zoom meetings, I will do them sometime around the full moon. And so this final video is giving a little context to the actual Earth Allies process that I went over in the fourth installment. It's going to give you the Jungian basis for this work, as well as kind of tie in some of the information that my small group of women has received thus far in doing this work. So the first link to Jungian work is to that of myth. Much like Sharon Blackie's aforementioned work, Jung believed that man has a connection to the archetypes of our collective stories that should not be ignored. In the film about Jung, Matter of Heart, he stated, quote, "Man has always lived with a myth, and we think we are able to be born today and to live in no myth without history. That is disease." That's absolutely abnormal because man is not born every day. He is born once in a specific historical setting with specific historical qualities, and therefore he is only complete when he has relation to these things. End quote. It is because of our loss of connection to land and myth that we are in a state of global disease. Mythic Mapping's work with Earth Allies provides people with a new way to get in touch with their setting and have a relationship with their story in a new way. Jung also teaches us that individuation is about wholeness, and I believe that includes that of the world around us. So the connection to the world is actually part of the wholeness that we are supposed to achieve. The Earth Allies work gives one the opportunity to engage with the larger whole, extending psychic tendrils into the collective unconscious of their immediate landscape. So by connecting to the earth that is specifically in the neighborhood that you live, you are sending out these psychic, as in part of the psyche, imaginative tendrils to the collective unconscious that is part of the world in which you live. Schroeder, in his book states, when archetypes are projected onto natural environments, these environments evoke powerful emotions and take on profound significance for the individual. So by seeing parts of yourself mirrored in these Earth Allies, not only are you going to have a different relationship with your natural environment, but it's also going to teach you things about yourself. The Earth Allies process brings immediate awareness to one's environmental residence, creating a newfound, impassioned psychological link. This has to be done carefully, however, and that is why when working with Earth Allies, mythic mapping users must realize that the archetypal aspects that have been projected onto their allies are actually part of the self. I'm going to repeat that. This work should be done carefully. And you must realize that the archetypal aspects that you have projected onto your allies are actually part of yourself. As Schroeder notes, quote, one must learn to see the difference between the inner archetype and the outer object or person onto which it is being projected. This is inevitably part of the individuation process. Understanding your projections is part of that. Thus, in the latest incarnation of the worksheet, the one that I showed you in the last part of the series, the question, how is this ally a reflection of me, was added. Thus, in the latest incarnation, the research that I did for this paper was inspired for this edition. Excuse me, that was confusing, wasn't it? Let me rephrase that. Okay, so the question, how is this ally a reflection of me, was added because of the work that I was doing for this paper to explain this process. Because I realized, especially as I did work with the group of women that I work with, that every time there was an ally, of a particular person, it was definitely a reflection of something in that person. As I added the question to the worksheet, I thought about how things we may consider to be negative, like the bark beetle, are an excellent example of why this question had to be added. If, as Schroeder noted, that the inner archetype projected outward needs to be identified, the negative are just as important, if not more so, to getting down to the truth about ourselves. What is incredibly interesting and highly synchronistic about that is in the following full moon work that I did with my group of ladies, one of the women actually brought forth the bark beetle as an ally. Amazingly, in her active imagination with this ally, the following truths were revealed. So this is from March 11th. This is what the ally said to one of the women. This is bark beetle. Quote, all beings do what they must to thrive. The trees are our sustenance. Our food is abundant at this time. We take advantage as any species would. The human race likes to demonize us. How many forests have been leveled to build human cities and keep humans warm? Our race could never cause as much damage. We, like all creatures, prey on the weak, easy prey. A tree we consume dies and falls. This thins the forest, giving resources to healthier trees and undergrowth. Humans like to play God and control the natural world to suit their comforts. Humans overconsume and destroy resources without genuine need. Humans need to check themselves before pointing fingers. End quote. Wow, right? The woman who brought this ally then had an incredible revelation about how her business impacts the world and how she must shift the way she works in order to be more environmentally sustainable. It was astonishing to see these concepts play out in real time. So that's a big piece of it. I'm going to go into this last piece because I do feel like this work done in a group setting is really worthwhile, and I want to explain that to you. So I finally decided that there was one more piece to the puzzle in this part of mythic mapping, provided from a Jungian standpoint, and that is the importance of relationships in the pursuit of individuation. Jung explains, quote, the self is relatedness. The self only exists inasmuch as you appear. Not that you are, but that you do. Not that you are, but that you do the self. So you have to enact the self. The self appears in your deeds, and deeds always mean relationship. I'm going to say that one more time. The self appears in your deeds, and deeds always mean relationship. Without that self showing up in relatedness with others, one would not understand who their self really is. All right, so that quote ended with the word relationship. As I read the feedback provided to me from my full moon group, this theme showed up again and again. One of the ladies stated the connection with the other women is emotionally intimate and supportive. Another woman said, quote, I think the most important thing I've gotten from this practice, though, is the camaraderie, feedback, and fellowship with the other women in our group. Getting their perspective has been just as valuable as my own. The Earth Allies work, therefore, not only has created a mythos we are weaving into our landscape that has taught us about ourselves and the living conscious beings around us, but it also illuminated the importance of community. All right, so that's all I've got left on the paper. I wanted to show you a little bit of the process by reading to you what Bark Beetle said to one of the ladies, and then her being able to reflect back on what that meant for her. Allies can be anything that speak to you in your natural landscape. And if something keeps coming up over and over again in your thoughts, then it's probably something you should communicate with, because more than likely it has something to tell you that's really important about the natural world right now, but also about yourself. And then as I stated in the last video, the last thing that I added was how can you help that ally in its natural environment? Because, so this is a multi-level process, right? So you're attracted to a particular ally because that particular ally needs to communicate something with you. You then do the work. You have that active imagining process with that being that then reveals something about themselves to you. And then you have the time to take a moment and reflect on what that says about you. And then you take another step in actually engaging with that ally in the natural world. So you're doing work to help yourself grow, you're doing work to help understand the mythos of the world around you, because obviously that bark beetle isn't really talking to you, right? I guess that this is some sort of myth process that we are engaging with the world around us in a new way, so that we stop taking other people's myths, so we stop engaging with dead myths or myths that are actually not supportive of where we are on our journey as humankind, as a group. And we start really tapping back into what it means to be a symbiotic creature with the world around us. So this is the end of the Earth Allies series. I really look forward to hearing your feedback. I really look forward to seeing you sign up for my Zoom meeting that'll start in May. If you have any questions, please feel free to message me. My website's www.revpameladawn.com, RevPamelaDawn.com. You can send me information or questions through there. Please just take one moment to do this exercise for yourself. The worksheet is on the website as well. And it really is time for us to start doing something different. I might start another series about homesteading, as my husband and my sons and I are going to start that practice in May. We're going to start growing our own food and interacting with the piece of property that we own in a way that we support it and it supports us, in the hope that I can help inspire others become the change to do something different to help us save ourselves and our planet. Thanks for watching.